Alrighty, welcome to this recording. We're here with Bergen, one of your classmates, and we're going to be going over the Natural Selection Lab dose. I know it's rather large. I was discussing it with Miss Bergen. Her response seems to be that you all just got bored with videos. So here's another video. But if you hear another voice in the background, that's Bergen. So I thought we could walk through again the questions and just make sure that you're comfortable with what I'm expecting for you to answer. So this is me previewing it. I'm not sure if it's exactly the same way that you see it on your end, but there's a natural selection and evolution background that I presumed that you would read if you needed to. We covered it all in class, so I don't know necessarily if you had to do that, but if you went through here, you'd learn a little bit about natural selection. You'd get the definition and the explanation for how natural selection works to change a population. I have provided this link, and if you opened it, it's rather obnoxious. I'll open it for you in a minute. But these pictures illustrate the same idea. So here we go. In the first scenario, you have beetles and a background, and it's simulating the same thing we did with the moth lab. As you can see, predators come. Bergen, since you're my guinea pig, what beetle is most eaten by the predator?
The orange one.
Correct. Now they're pretty slow to reproduce at this point. So when the bird eats right now against the green background, the orange beetles show up the best. So they're the ones that get eaten first. Okay, here we go. So if this stayed exactly the same over time, you'd still see orange beetles showing up in the population because it's a variation. But over time, the largest amount of beetle color would be the green ones because the orange ones don't live long enough to reproduce. So there you go. But let's simulate some changes in the environment. And let's say over time, come on, over time, some weird reason, very loud. How do I turn that sound off? Can't. Anyway, now you're seeing the birds should be preferring which color? Which color were the birds preferred now? The green ones. All right, the green ones are easier to see, so they get picked off first. This is the same thing as the moth lab we did. Stop, you're annoying me now. I don't like you. Hold, please. Okay, I don't like it. It hurts my face. Okay. So here's the simulation the same. Over time, as the background changed color, the orange beetles became more prominent, prevalent, popular. Am I still lagging now? I'm talking to Bergen, the classmate. Good. You're good now. Okay. So in a nutshell, the variations of beetle color determines how much they get eaten. How much they get eaten determines how often they get to reproduce, and etc. So there are 4 assumptions. There are variations, that those variations are inherited, and that some individuals are better able to reproduce, and adaptations occur which make some more successful. If you want to review natural selection, you can watch this video by clicking the link here. I'm not going to, but you could. All right, so that's there for you. Also, some more important concepts that I listed here: evolution, changing over time. This doesn't happen in one individual. I'm sitting on a yoga ball, so you're hearing some squeaking. All right, and so the next questions, I think the next series of questions is all about natural selection in general. So I don't want to go over these word for word, but I will take any specific questions that Bergen has about these because she's the only one here. So Bergen, Any of these questions you want to review? Which of the following is a good definition of the word adaptation? Following.
Nope, I have this whole page done.
This whole page. Okay, so Bergen's good. So I'm just going to scroll through here. They're all multiple choice. Most of you answered these goodish. And if not, you can go back and try again. So the next page is talking about the simulation that we did in class, and it was quite long. We took a few days to do it. You can visit that simulation with this link. You don't have to, but you could. And so if you followed along with the videos that I put in, you would just use that data to answer the questions. So what we did is we investigated populations of birds on an island. We looked at the Southwest island, the Southwest region first. We ran them through 500,000 years of their lifespan, cycles, and then watched how the populations changed. So the first thing you had to do is design 3 populations. So as I said several times, I made them as diverse as I could. I made the smallest, like the first one was smallest, greenest, shortest beak, straightest beak, okay? And then the other extreme was largest, most yellow, most curved, longest beak, okay? So the most extremes we could do, and then for the middle one, I just kind of picked everything in the middle. So this video walks you through what the legend means and how I picked the 3 populations. That's just an information page. You don't have to do anything with that. These videos in here are all optional, right? So here it is, what it looked like before I picked them. This section here, you're supposed to choose words, write down words that fill in the blanks for why, for predicting which type of bird would be best in this region. So if you look at the sidebar here, it lists the information about the Southwest region. There are some seeds, but not plenty. There are some bugs, insects, but not plenty. There are no flowering food sources, so no nectar. So it says here that the best beak for nectar is long and curved. And so if you don't have nectar, that kind of beak is not the best for the other 2 food sources you have. There are no predators in this environment. And so why we care about that is that predators prefer smaller prey. It's easier to eat a small bird than a big one. Also, the foliage, and I do that all the time, foliage is light green. So that's what the Southwest environment details are. All right, and then we were supposed to predict which type of bird population would be the best fit. It says, fill in the blanks with the bird phenotypes that you would predict would be best suited. So the straighter and the shorter and straighter the beak, the easier it is to eat what? Well, go up here. What does it say? Seeds. Boom. There's your answer. However, the longer and straighter the beak, the easier it is to eat what? Insects. Long and straight, beak is best. Boom. There's your answer. So insects, one word. Finally, the blank and more blank the beak, the better adapted the bird is for drinking nectar. So what does it say about nectar? Long and curved, right? So I even think you could put in long and or longer for these 2.
Okay, I have this part done.
Okay.
And then the question 9 as well.
You have 9 done. All right, so I'm just going to roll through there then. The kind of words I'm looking for are the simplest you can think of, right? It says, although blank birds survive on less food, predators prefer them. Well, it says size for the bird. It said that when you were looking over here. The smaller the bird gets to survive on less food, but predators want to eat them more. All right, so then filling out the rest of those 2. All right, imagine an environment with the following factors. So you would have to predict the best features. So the best fit birds would have a blank beak. This is the size. You get small or large, and then birds with color of feathers would be the most fit. So you'd want to pick the ones that fit in with the environment that's described right here. Insects, predators, and dark yellow foliage. I did it right. Yeah, foliage. Okay. All right, number 10. This is where you had to sort them, right? So all you had to do here, is decide population 1, 2, or 3 from order of most to least fit. So what do you think, Bergen, would be the most fit?
Well, there's no predators, so we're not going off of size. There's no nectar, so the curved beaks are out. So 3 would be least fit. And then insects requires a little bit longer of a beak, I think it said. But the most fit would be number 1, correct?
I agree. Because, and also the foliage. You have light green.
Yeah, that's what got me stuck on it.
Right, so you have light green foliage, so good. So the medium bird would be number 2, the large bird would be number 3, and the smallest would be number 1. All right, so on this part, you had to make your own habitat. I think they wanted you to... Oh, these are just questions you have to answer. So which is an example? So this is happening from that data sheet that we collected. And in the data sheet we collected, we had filled it in with all of the changes that happened. And I'm going to pause this for a minute. All right, so I'm back. What this question refers to is all of the data that we collected together over the several sessions we took. We recorded on this sheet. It might have been a little bit different in terms of numbers, but for all of the different class sessions, they came out with the same ultimate conclusion. In this case, move this up. Okay, so we recorded all the changes that happened to the population over the first 500,000 years. And I believe the question was asking, what was the question again, Bergen?
Which is an example of a mutation in a population that would not produce offspring that were more fit?
Okay, so we had to look at that sheet and use specific examples for the mutations that showed up. So here we go. Sometimes the, sometimes the mutation, for example, made the beak shorter, if you see here in the first 50,000, but it made the offspring better mates. So that would have stayed in the population. Sometimes it made the beak less curved, which made it better fit, and that made the mutation more common because it stuck around in the gene pool. Sometimes the mutation made the body larger, which would make it less fit, and so that phenotype didn't stick around in the gene pool. Sometimes the beak is more curved, which made it less fit, blah, blah, blah. What did I say? Less fit, didn't stay, body less fit. But sometimes it made them didn't really matter if the mutation made it more or less fit in terms of food or predators, but it made them more susceptible to the disease. So that one didn't last. To answer the question, what is an example of a mutation in a population that would not produce offspring? So in a habitat with many predators, a population of birds has a mutation for a smaller body size. So what kind of body size do predators prefer?
Smaller.
Would that be a beneficial mutation that would allow more offspring to be made? The mutation is for a smaller body size, but there are a lot of predators. So the ones with smaller body size are going to be eaten first. So that is not going to make more offspring. Make sense?
Yeah, I chose the one that says, in the habitat with many predators, a population of birds has a mutation for a smaller body.
Smaller body? You mean curved beaks?
Is that the correct one?
You picked this one for curved beaks?
Hold on.
Because in
Oh,
this,
no, I didn't.
yeah, in the second one, the mutation to green feathers for green foliage would be better.
I picked the very top one.
Okay, so yeah, because the question, that's what you have to be careful, because the question says would not produce, would not be more fit, basically would not make the organism more fit. So a smaller body size with many predators would make it not fit. A mutation to match the foliage better would be more fit. Shorter, straighter beaks with seeds is more fit. Flowering plants and a curved beak are more fit, right? So the top one would be the best response.
Oh, okay.
Because the question is asking which would not produce offspring that were more fit. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right, question 12. What types of mutations occurred? All you had to do is pick multiple ones of these that match the types of mutations that we saw. So is an increase of predators in the environment a mutation in a population?
So, like, the body size would be one? Would that be it?
The body size would be one.
Okay. The foliage? Foliage?
Foliage is color of leaves. So if the leaves change color, is that a mutation in the bird population?
No, that's a mutation in the environment.
Right? Or a change in the environment, right? So yeah. So that's environmental, but not a mutation in the population. Plumage color, however, plumage means feather, right?
Oh. Okay, yeah, that would be a mutation because it could make it more susceptible to being eaten.
Well, just the changing of the feathers to match the surroundings, right? It doesn't matter whether it was good or bad. It was just what kind of occurred, right? Things that could change in the bird population is the length of the beak, the curve of the beak, the color of the feathers, and the size of the body. All of these other three, those are things that happened out in the environment, but not a mutation within the population of birds.
Gotcha.
And you would have gotten that information. I'm not rubbing it in. I'm just pointing out where you can find that is in that list where it talks about, oh look, changing the body, changing the beak, changing the feathers somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, moving on. What is the result of a mutation that made the offspring less fit? So you got to read these questions very carefully. What was the result if a mutation made the offspring less fit? The phenotype did not stay present in the gene pool. The offspring were less susceptible to disease. Well, that would be more fit. Over time, the original phenotype was replaced by mutated versions. That would mean that that version was more fit. The mutation made the offspring better mates. That would be more fit. So the less fit option would be this one here. And again, if you look on the data sheet, you can see that it says if it was less fit, it didn't stay in the gene pool, right? If it was less fit, it didn't stay in the gene pool. Or less fit, didn't stay in the gene pool, right? So the answers were there. So there you go. Under what circumstances were the offspring more or less fit as a result of the mutation? So what caused the offspring to be more or less fit? The mutation made the offspring more fit because they became more desirable to mates. Is that true? Is that a true statement?
No.
Offspring are more fit because they are more desirable to mates.
Are we talking about mates here?
I'm on 14.
Are we talking about mates?
Yeah. All I want you to do is look at this statement and tell me if the statement would be true or false. Mutation made the offspring more fit because they became more desirable to mates. Is that true or false? In
False.
general, if a mutation made the offspring more desirable to mates, would that make them more fit?
Oh, I guess so, because you're repopulating.
Because what?
True. Because like you're repopulating, you're making the population
Yeah,
bigger,
right?
so they are
You
desirable.
it's all about making the babies, right? Okay. So that would be a true statement. The mutation did not
Oh,
increase or decrease fitness related to food or predators. The mutation made the offspring more fit because they grew more susceptible to disease. Is that true or false? If the mutation made the offspring,
no.
okay, so that would be a false statement. Okay. The mutated birds were more fit because they survived and reproduced infertile offspring.
No, because that you couldn't reproduce.
So which of these two, this is not a true statement, this is not a true statement, and this doesn't affect the fitness. So the question asks, which of these were the offspring more or less fit, right? So it would have to be the first question. The mutation made the offspring more fit because they made them more desirable to mates.
Maybe I'm not reading these questions right.
I'll admit they were a little tough.
Okay, so the first one, the mutation made the offspring more fit because they grew more susceptible to disease.
No, nobody said anything about susceptible to disease. You might have yours orders random. Look at the statement.
Okay, I'm not looking.
Might be randomized. The mutation made the,
Oh,
right? Because desirable to mates.
okay. Yeah, your board is different.
Because they're randomized in case you take it again and you don't just remember the order. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So for this part is the second 500,000 years. You were supposed to have done this one on your own, or you could just watch my videos. And basically, it's asking you, after the hurricane hit the island and some of the birds blew away to the 3 new parts of the island. So if you can see an image somewhere of the island, yeah. Now we're talking about the northwest, the northeast, and the southeast. So what this question is asking you is, what type of isolation would this be an example of? Behavioral? Did the birds choose to do something? Adaptive? Geographic? Or regional? There's really only one we talked about in class.
Is it geographic?
It
My
is.
thing won't win.
Yeah. That's the only one we talked about. We talked about genetic, but as a result of geographic. All right. So for this part, you just had to list what you chose. So if you followed along with me, what factors did we choose when designing the Northeast region? So for the second half of our natural selection simulation, we have to identify and select, and the Southeast will be determined for. If you select some, it costs 1 point. If you select plentiful, it costs 2 points. When we've all done selecting the components of the environment, we're going to click continue. Like I said, the northwest and southeast environments will be created automatically by the simulation. So we have options for seeds. For food, there is seeds. So a short, straight beak is best for seeds. Insects, where a long, straight beak is best. Nectar, where a long and curved beak is best. We can choose how many predators there are, and we can choose the foliage color we would like as a predominant in our area. For example, if we had chosen to make an arid habitat, like a desert, we'd probably want to choose one of these 2 colors because there'd be a lot of sandy, rocky areas. If we wanted lush tropical rainforest foliage, we'd pick one of these 2. Now,
Again, it's up to us, but it looks as though we are away from a mountain.
So this is just me
So
walking through how I
when
chose
it
the
rains,
cards.
it usually so and see what happens. Let's go with this color here. Probably pick a little bit more dry. It does appear that there are some rivers, plants, seeds.
So if you follow along in this video,
We
you
made
can
a
see at the
selection
end.
for us. It looked predators.
See?
We've picked our foliage, and
so if you wanted to just read this, you can see what I did if you didn't do it on your own. I picked some seeds, plenty of insects, no nectar, some predators, and yellow foliage. So that's all I would have put in, and I would have just typed in what I said. So some seeds, plenty of insects, no nectar, some predators, and dark yellow foliage, or dark yellow leaves, even if you wanted to use the. Okay, and that's all I would have put. If you did something else, you could put that too. So I have to go through and make sure that everybody that does this gets credit for whatever they put, as long as it made sense. And then 17 is asking you to match the other parts, the other like explanations with their regions. So the computer did that for us, and if we finish the video, we can see all of those here.
West.
So if you finished the video, those would have been done for you. So in the southeast, there was no bugs or seeds. There was some nectar and no predators in green. For the northwest, plenty of seeds, some insects, some nectar, no predators, and brown. And so you just had to go through here and decide for the other two regions, like which one had some nectar. Well, some nectar would have been both, right? So you would put both there. Or number 3. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, I'm just getting to my actual lab because it closed out on me.
Oh, bummer. All right. Okay.
So I'm just back at 17 now.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm on 17. I'm just going through 17 and showing you where to find the information, right? So all it's asking you to do is match the habitat factors. So both of these two regions have some nectar. The southeast has no insects and no seeds, or vice versa. And so if you look through here, you just have to pick one, like plenty of seeds. So no insects would be southeast. Let's see. Yep, no insects would be southeast. So that's number 2. No seeds would also be southeast, number 2. That means plenty of seeds would be number 1. And some insects, where's that at? Would be number 1. And then you come back here and you say, okay, predators. Predators, neither of them have predators, so no predators would be both. And that leaves us with color of foliage. So the southeast was green and the northwest was brown. That's all you had to do, really. So southeast green here. The northwest was brown, number 1. So what I'm hoping this video shows you, even though it's long, is that all the answers are here. You just have to, those 3 questions were tough, but. And then the last thing to do is analyze what happened. And you didn't even have to watch the whole video because I'm showing it to you in an image here. What happened to the original birds after 1 million years. So the original birds in the northeast, you can see how they evolved. The one population became extinct, and the other 2 evolved in the same direction. They both became medium to small size brown birds with straight beaks, right? In the Northwest, there was more variety, but the beak is predominantly straight, and the majority of the birds are small to medium sized. There are no yellow birds. And then in the Southeast, the only bird that survived was the small to medium sized, long, straight beak greenbird, right? So you just have to, in your own words, describe what happened. So I think the question says, you have to use these terms right here. So if you want to get full credit, I actually have to go back and make sure I've graded all those correctly. I have got to see the terms natural selection, random mutation, selection of favorable traits, reproduction, and genetic variation in your terms.
I got that.
Yeah, and I said 4 to 5 complete sentences. So make sure that you do that well, okay? And then this is just a further practice where I wanted you to look at the graph. So for this one, you just look at the graph and you talk about rabbits and legs and body size. And so you read through it. Rabbits with the mutation were more successful with restricted food than the normal rabbits. So rabbits, mutants are orange and normal is blue. So just look at the lines, right? The mutated rabbits were more successful in the long run. And the question is, which is true? So is it true that the rabbits with the mutation were more successful with restricted food?
Yeah.
In both sets of rabbits were equally successful with restricted food source? No. The graph does not let us know which rabbit was more successful. That's not true. The normal rabbits were more successful with restricted food, so that's not true. So the only one that's true is the first one. Or for me, the one that says the mutations were more successful. Yeah. All right, then the last section is just artificial selection. And I think I didn't really cover that in class because we're really familiar with this. We do it all the time. So there was a video to watch if you had no idea what I meant. There's lots of images to look over. And then the questions are like, which is not an example of natural selection? So which one doesn't happen naturally? Well, selective breeding should give you the indicator, right? And then these just, if you have questions about these, you can ask me. But this one, I think some people got wrong because there's no such thing as industrial selection. It's either natural or artificial. Right? So.
Hold on, which one are you on?
23.
Sorry, my thing takes so long to load. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I haven't really answered.
Okay, you're on the next page.
Yeah, I haven't really answered them. I've just. The only one I brought out is so far I'm seeing that some people are choosing industrial selection. There's no such thing. I know why they're choosing it.
Artificial?
Yeah, it's got to be artificial. There's no such thing as industrial selection.
Yeah, because industry, it might make more logical sense to them, but it's artificial because it's like hormone pumping and stuff.
Right. If there were such a thing as industrial selection, it would be artificial, so.
Yeah, it kind of answers itself a little bit.
Right. I love this picture of this cow. It just kills me. All right, and then so the rest of these are just about natural selection. So, do you have any questions on these last group of questions?
I'm looking them over. Okay, no, that's good. I just wanted to know what the mean meant, though.
The what?
I don't get it.
The what?
At the very end, your mean.
My mean?
Yeah, a little picture.
Oh, at the end?
Yeah.
Isn't that cute? Couches. All right. Well, thank you for volunteering your time, Bergen, to be my audience.
It helped a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome. So just 4 to 5 sentences on that one, and then I'll be able to look it over, okay? I'm going to stop this part here and come back to, yeah, no problem.